Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It is a beautiful October 20th, 2020, and a nice balmy -5 degrees Celsius outside. For my American listeners, it's roughly about 23 or 24 Fahrenheit. Anyhow, coming up in the podcast today, I'll be discussing the whole beer bug issue again with lies and misdemeanors, as well as the fishing rights going on in Nova Scotia, and other political dilemmas. All that and more come at the Crusty Canuck podcast. Stay tuned.
Because I am hard, you will not like me. Yes, sir. There is no racial bigotry here. Here you are all equally worthy.
This is the Crusty Canuck podcast. A Canadian veteran's point of view on politics, social, economic issues, and life. Here's Crusty.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, like I said, it's a beautiful, balmy -5 Celsius. To my American listeners, once again, 23 Fahrenheit. Yes, look what's going on in politics today, ladies and gentlemen. Nova Scotia Fishing Rights. Who's right, who's wrong, who's racist, who's not racist. Especially in today's news, when he had Mr. Pablo Rodriguez weighing in on the whole House committee and committees investigating the whole WE scandal. So I'll start with the Nova Scotia Fishing Rights. I'm a firm believer in respecting all treaties. Now, regardless of history of this country or not, regardless of what happened in the 1600s, 1700s, 1800s, 1900s, and in the 2000s, there's been a lot of shit passed left and right. Doesn't matter if it's the First Nations, doesn't matter if it's this policy, doesn't matter if it's that policy. We all know that the First Nations got a raw deal throughout history. I'm aware of that. I'm also aware of the fact that there's a lot of issues with residential schooling, land rights, water rights, everything thereof. And it's a real shitstorm. Now, I'm not going to sit here and apologize for being a Canadian, or apologize for being a white male, or apologize for any kind of guilt. I was not around when these heinous acts were being committed. However, I acknowledge them. It was wrong, and we need to understand the history of it with open dialogue, courtesy, and respect for each other. Okay? Now, I'm a firm believer in treaty rights because these were ideas and agreements that were written in stone practically at the time of settlement and settlers, when Canada was still a colony, when the Queen and the monarchy had its hands in everything that we did at that time. But I'm also a firm believer, too, in conservation. I'm also a firm believer that, as far as I'm concerned, everyone has the right to fish. Every Canadian has the right to fish in Canadian waters. Doesn't matter if it's a company, doesn't matter if it's a band, doesn't matter if it's private fishermen. I could care less. And I'm not going to say fisher folk or fisher persons. We all know the brass tacks of it all. It doesn't matter if you're male or female. Anyone who makes a living off of fishing in this country should rightfully do so. Okay? Now, it's because of decisions that were made by politicians 30 years ago that let foreign vessels would come into our 200-mile limit and do whatever the fuck they wanted, which caused a fishing catastrophe in Newfoundland back in 1990, where Mr. John Crosby took it upon himself to propose a moratorium while denying Canadian fishermen to do their thing and still letting foreign trawlies alike do whatever the fuck they wanted. Now, that's been said and done. Now, the Nova Scotia issue, I can understand the treaty, I can understand the conservation, so I see both sides of the dilemma. However, here's my solution. Persecute the bureaucrats that sat in their hands and did fuck all for the past month. Persecute First Nations people that broke the law. Persecute the Nova Scotia non-Indigenous persons that broke the law. And let's try to get along here. Okay? I'm sick and tired of all this race-baiting bullshit that's being promoted as the foundation of people's concerns. No, it's not a racial issue. It's not a racial issue. And I'm sick and tired of hearing that. Okay? And if a handful of Nova Scotia non-Indigenous fishermen turn around saying rotten things and doing rotten things to people because of racially motivated fucking actions, then you persecute those individuals. I'm sick and tired of people being put in categories all the time because of the actions of one or two or the few. Come on, people, we're better than that. Come on, Canada, we're better than that. We are. I know the majority of Canadians were raised in a household not to sit there and persecute or prosecute or judge people based on the color of their skin, regardless of the history or not. Okay? So yes, respect the treaty and respect the conversation. It's that goddamn simple. And respect conservation when it comes to fish, when it comes to lobster, when it comes to trees, and when it comes to water. Okay? I mentioned in my last episode too, for those individuals that are out of work, native and white and whatever alike, there are ways we can find things to clean up our oceans and our waterways to motivate people. Put the race cards down, folks. Put the effing race cards down. Enough of this racial dilemma, and stop using it as an excuse. And the bureaucracy and the politicians that are calling the shots in these dilemmas, fucking get your heads out of your ass. Honestly. And it's not a racial issue. And I'm so sick and tired of hearing this. And I have actually talked to some of my First Nation friends in regards to this. And believe it or not, a lot of them don't want anything to do with it because they don't want to step any toes and they don't want to hurt anyone's feelings. And I can agree why they don't want to do that. Okay? But I wasn't asking them just because they were First Nations. I asked them because I wanted to know what they thought about it. And I wanted them to give me some of their experience on treaty issues and some of their experiences of growing up, right? And dealing with bureaucratic bullshit. Okay? When I see every one of these Liberal representatives sitting there and trying to negotiate a dilemma, it's I shake my head. And honestly, ladies and gentlemen, I do try to be open-minded when they speak, but I find it disingenuous. When they sat there in their briefings, they were sitting there worrying too much about acknowledging what land it was prior to becoming Canada. The whole politically correct dogma, oh, here's more of my guilt, mea culpa, let me beat myself with an olive branch just to prove that I'm guilty and I'm worthy of your respect and trust. Well, when someone is constantly walking around portraying guilt, how the hell can you trust anything they have to say? Honestly, think about that. So this PC bullshit and this PC dogma has got to stop. Okay? Whatever happened to adults sitting at a table trying to work out a problem? Now, I'm talking adults. It doesn't matter if they're in their 20s or 30s or 40s or 50s or 60s, or in some cases in their 70s. Whatever happened to finding that out? Now, I feel bad for the natives in Nova Scotia that are going through this shit. But I also feel bad for Nova Scotians who have had to deal with the mass shooting that happened back in April and the political dog's breakfast that went with that, as well as this bureaucratic red tape crap that the Liberal government keeps trying to throw out there. Now, they had the better part of a month to come together and do something to figure out a viable solution where everyone can get along. And they didn't. And they just recently, as of yesterday, started taking some action. Now, I'll leave links in the description there for you to decide. But regardless of the beer bug, regardless of what's going on, there's still work that has to be done. And I'm seeing nothing more but lazy virtue signaling and lackluster fucking leadership. What do you say? Reach me at crustybcanuck67@gmail.com. Or you can find me on Instagram. You can find me on Facebook and Wimkin and Canun.com and Twitter under the same name, Crusty Canuck. Let me know what you think, folks. Well, like I, for one, I'm getting sick and tired of everyone pulling the race card out. Oh, it's racism, it's racism, it's racism. We're in 2020 now. We have technology to a point where it's getting out of our control. We have the abilities to give people shots when it comes to tuberculosis and malaria. We have means to make people's lives comfortable and easier. Why are we still pulling race cards out? Huh? Why do people still keep promoting that bullshit? Right? When I look at a Native Canadian, I look at history. I don't look at them as vermin. I don't look at them as less than human. I look at them as people. It's the same way when I look at a white person or an Asian person or a black person or somebody from the Hindu faith or the Sikh faith or somebody from India or somebody from Pakistan or somebody from Syria. I don't care what color your skin is. I don't care how you live your life. Do it well. Do the best of your fucking ability. And why can't we do it together in this democracy? Why is there still such a racial divide? Why? Why are we still talking about it? Why do people keep blowing it out? Oh, help me, I'm a victim. No, you're not. Maybe of some circumstances. To my First Nation listeners out there, I love you. To my Asian Canadians out there, I love you. To my Hindu, Sikh, Pakistani, Syrian, Middle Eastern, Eastern European alike, I love you. Come on, let's go. Enough of this bullshit. To my American listeners, I love you. To my British listeners, I love you. To all my fans in Australia, New Zealand. I was looking at the stats the other day. Heck, I've got a few Nigerian listeners. I love you guys too. All right? To my Eastern European fans, I love you. I don't care what color your skin is. What I care about is that you have the ability to live your life to the best of your ability. As far as I'm concerned, every Canadian in this country has a right to earn a moderate living, a modest living, an honest living. Well, we deserve to live in freedom, peace, and security. And when we look at our government officials that are supposed to ensure that and protect that, what are they doing? Right? Yes, let's honor the treaty rights. Let's honor conservation, and let's make bloody well fucking sure we can get along, and let's evolve from this de-evolution that a lot of these bureaucracies and these so-called experts like to keep throwing at us. Okay? Let's get rid of this herd mentality and start thinking like men and women again. Start thinking like, yes, we can do it. Let's start thinking like our grandparents did after the Second World War, when there was debt, when there was devastation. Let's work together to rebuild things as it should. Let's get back to basic fucking resilience again, ladies and gentlemen. Okay? I'm going to leave it at that because I get so annoyed with racial divide and so-called finger pointing and blame game, and yet no one wants to take responsibility for their shit, whether it's a handful of police officers or a handful of liberals or conservatives or NDP or greenie beanies. Okay? It's getting to a fucking point where everyone's washing their hands of the responsibility, and I'm sick of it. I ask again, what say you? CrustyBCanuck67@gmail.com. Or you can find me on Podbean. You can find me on Canon.com, Wimkin, Facebook, and other social media outlets. You can find my description. And ladies and gentlemen, if you like what you hear and see, please do not forget to click the little bell of notification there, as well as like and share and comment around. You can give me comments here on the YouTube and on Podbean, respectively. And if you feel like donating, please donate. I do have a membership column now on my YouTube page. So for $1.99 a month, ladies and gentlemen, for $1.99 a month, you will get an honorable mention every time I do a live stream. You get yourself a little emoji and sticker there beside your name, just to prove how many months you've been in. And I will literally, when I do a live stream, I will give you an applause if you contribute $1.99 a month, right? And if I had half of my subscribers would give that, man, I'd be on my way to making one hell of a show. So keep that in mind, ladies and gentlemen. And there's other options there for you to donate to. Or you can reach me through PayPal. You can reach me through Patreon on Podbean and through Subscribestar. So if you do feel like donating. Plus, I do have a new shop up and running. So if you want to check out my merchandise at Customized Girl, I'll leave a link in the description there. If you use the code CNMDE, all capital, you'll get 20% off your purchases. So just follow the directions in the description and go from there, ladies and gentlemen. So carrying on with today's politics, too, Mr. Pablo Rodriguez, Mr. Press Secretary, to Mr. Potato Sockboy Prime Minister himself, sitting there pulling the old victim card again. Oh, why the Conservatives giving us a hard time? Oh, my God, what's going on here? Why do they need a committee for this? Why do they need a committee for that? You know, I'll leave a description and links there, too, of what he said today on CTV News. And I was just shaking my head thinking, fuck. Here's a bunch of individuals that got caught doing something, the whole WE scandal. And yes, I'll mention the WE scandal again because that is the basis of the Conservatives pointing the fingers at the Liberals into regard to what's going on with our democracy and how much money they are spending. especially during this beer bug pandemic and what they were planning to give the We Foundation. Now they have to worry about the play on words and what's being said. And like, oh my God. Frickin' lackluster politics. But here, listen up. I got another message.
Yeah, this is Kevin Sorbo. You better believe it. From TV's Hercules and Andromeda. Oh, I got thrown. I've done a bunch of movies since then, like God's Not Dead, What If, Abel's Field, Soul Surfer, Let There Be Light, Storm Rider. There's just so many good ones out there. You better check it out. I'm just doing some shameless plugs because I'm going to do a plug right now, okay? You need to check out the Crusty Canuck podcast on Podbean and YouTube. You better check it out. Or I will go Hercules on you. Yes, I will.
Gentlemen, yes, ladies and gentlemen, that was a little tidbit I got from cameo.com there. This is not an endorsement. However, I checked out the service and the site. Really interesting. That was Mr. Kevin Sorbo from TV's Hercules and Andromeda and other movies that he mentioned before. And I was surprised that he did it. So, check it out if you can. I was really honored. It cost me a few dollars, but it wasn't overwhelming, and it didn't break the bank. But I was really surprised that he stepped up and did that for me. So if you are listening, Mr. Sorbo, thank you once again for that lovely tidbit. Well appreciated, and thank you again. So carrying on, ladies and gentlemen, with this whole political dilemma that's going on, the whole race card BS, more of the beer bug dilemma. And when it comes to native rights, I believe, like I say again, I believe in treaty rights. I do. I was raised in a household where you are kind and considerate to the best of your ability. You hold your individual beliefs and you promote them proudly and professionally. But in the same sense, I'm not cruel to people that may be a different color of skin or hold a different religious view, however. I don't really care if you believe in God, if you believe in Jesus, if you believe in Muhammad, if you believe in lemon gods or monkeys. I don't care. I judge people based on their character and their actions. And I really, really wish that these elected officials started towing the same line and did the same thing. Now, as a member of the VCP party, we've actually talked on the line in regards to this. And people are afraid of an election. People are afraid to get out there and vote because of the so-called Nanos poll and other polls alike that are apparently favoring the Liberal brand because of the whole CERB and CEBA payments and all that. But I want to tell the listeners out there too, especially my listeners in Ontario and Quebec alike. Okay, the CERB payment was good. The CEBA payment's good. Selling businesses, yes. Okay, I get it. But it's also a government handout that they will tax you on come next fiscal year. Okay? Right? They will find a way to tax you on that. So you might have received $2,000 a month since this time or that time. So depending on what your stature is or where you worked or what you were doing, if you've accumulated $8,000 to $10,000 or maybe even $12,000 since this issue reared its ugly head, be prepared to pay a chunk of tax on that. And I heard that from an accountant myself when I was sorting my taxes out. And it doesn't look good for people, ladies and gentlemen, financially speaking. These lockdowns that are going on, especially in Ontario, like, really, Ford? What are you doing, buds? Right? What are you doing? And there's speculation here in Alberta when people are talking about private health care. And it doesn't matter how you feel about private health care or what Ford's doing. These are governments that are taking away people's choices. Choices. All in the name of safety and security. Right? And the vast majority of Canadians out there, too, who happen to be listening to this show, which is more important, a handout and safety or longevity and liberty? Okay? It's good that we have government programs that can help people, but it's also good, too, that people have the ability to fucking help themselves when they can. Okay? I was raised in a blue-collar house. If I want something, I had to work for it. If I want to progress, I have to work at it. And some days, you might have to work harder than others. In some situations, you might have to work harder than others. That's life. Okay? It's not marginalization. It's not racialization. It's not oppression. That's just the way it goes for some folk. And it doesn't matter what color you are. It doesn't matter what gender you are or what identity you have. It's just about the choices you make. But we're having more and more governments weighing in, stepping in, saying, oh, you can't do this, you can't do that. So you're herding people into a corner. And if you're going to treat men and women like dogs, what happens to a dog when you back it into a corner? Will it comply and lay down and stick its head between its legs? Or will it come out barking and ripping and tearing its way out of that corner? Okay? Think about that, ladies and gentlemen. Okay? Now, I've had some comments from my American friends saying, well, Canadians are docile. Oh, we're too nice. Oh, we're too polite. Well, guess again. Okay? I am polite when it's called for. I do say please and thank you, and I say yes, sir, yes, ma'am. And not because of my military background. It's because my mother and father instilled that in me. Okay? Now, when you call a lady ma'am, it's not an insult. It's a sign of respect. When you call a man sir, it's not an insult. It's a sign of respect. Okay? To those individuals out there that demand it and command it all the time, well, unless you're a soldier, you really got no business doing it. But in the same sense, it just shows courtesy, and that goes a long way. So we got to get back to basics when it comes to resilience and showing courtesy for things. Okay? There's too many me's out there. And not enough do's. You know what I'm saying? Do what you can, folks. We have to get through this shit one way or the other. My point is this. If they call an election, let's be ready. I don't care if the NDP's got money. I don't care if the Conservatives got money. I don't care if the Liberals got money. The thing is that the working class people of this country are running out of money, running out of patience, and we're running out of time. Okay? We're running out of time where we cannot get ahead anymore. Okay? There's too much red tape when it comes to the pipeline in this country. There's too much red tape when it comes to cleaning up the real pollution in this country. There's too much red tape when it comes to putting these people responsible on the spot. Now, after watching that Pablo Rodriguez press conference this morning, I was surprised that there were some mainstream media outlets out there that are asking him the tough questions. I was like, oh, fuck, it's about time. Well done. Good. What's going to happen here? What's going to happen there? And of course, the old stutter, deflection, blah, blah, blah. We all heard the same rhetoric before. Okay? So, ladies and gentlemen, since the mainstream media is doing it, we got to be doing it too. Like I've said before in numerous episodes, ladies and gentlemen, we've got to do it too. We have to maintain the sanity. We have to maintain common sense. We have to promote democracy. We have to promote thriving. Okay? And when it comes to wearing masks and the 6-foot distance and everything, well, which is it? I did an interview with Cussinell there a couple of days ago, and check out her channel too. A very well written and thorough individual. So I'll leave a link to her channel as well. But we talked about common sense. We talked about racism. We talked about life that's going on in this country and in North America alike. And my American listeners out there, we hear that they want to have a special mute button when it comes to Trump and Biden talking back and forth. So there's no interrupting, so people can be heard. Yeah. Well, it's more deflection, folks. More deflection. I don't know what to say about the whole racial divide, but I've said my piece in that enough. I'm sick of it. I'm sick of it. I do my best to get along with everybody. What about you? I think the majority of Canadians do. I think the majority of Americans do too, for that matter. So when someone's sitting there and pulling this old race card, I just look and I go, what the F? Really? You're still using that? Huh? Anyway, tell me what you think. CrustyBCanuck67@gmail.com. Or you can find me on Podbean. Leave a comment on Podbean and on YouTube. Wimkin, Facebook, Canon.com, Twitter. You can reach me at all those platforms. Send me a name or two or a comment or two. And if you do feel like writing me a letter, send me a card or two, or send me some nice free stuff. We all like little presents in the mail. I'll leave my writing address too there in the description. So if you do fancy sending me a card, feel free to go right ahead. I don't mind. It's nice to get mail that isn't bills or other political dog's breakfasts. You know what I'm saying? Anyway, carrying on with more of this political BS. And maybe a possible election. I don't know. I would love to see an election. That's just me, though. And not because I'm running for the VCP party in my riding here, but I want to see more motivation. I want to see more blue-collar people in Ottawa. I want to see more blue-collar representation in Parliament. Now, don't get me wrong. You know, I think Aaron O'Toole has got his wits about him as a political leader. I think Michelle Rempel has a lot to say, a lot to offer. I think Pierre Poilievre is one hell of an economist, a brilliant man, right? But I'm not necessarily conservative as I used to be. I'm more libertarian-based, but I'm more blue-collar-based too. I believe seniors deserve a break. I believe veterans deserve a break. I believe every blue-collar person out there that does their best to his or her abilities to get ahead gets a break too. Like I've said, I believe in treaty rights. Let's honor them. Let's respect them. Let's respect each other again. Put the race cards away. Okay? I'm sick and tired of seeing the disingenuous accusations left and right about police harassment. And yet, I agree, there have been a few police officers who have done some stupid things. But there are also quite a lot of people that have resisted arrest. And when you resist arrest, when you're told you're being arrested, what do you expect to happen? Are you given a soother, given a sucker? Oh, there, come with us. We'll try to be nice to you. No. When you start flinging your arms around and resist a police officer's attempt to arrest you, when he or she has the grounds to arrest you, what do you expect to happen? They are going to use force to get you on the ground, to put the cuffs on you, to throw you in the cruiser, and take you to the station to assess you, right? Or process you. Think about that. Right? Gone are the days where you call police officers pigs. Gone are the days where the man's trying to bring you down. Because the only people that I see trying to bring us down are elected officials. And they are men and they are women too. So, I don't buy that whole 60s mentality of the man bringing us down. There are other people trying to bring you down. But it's finding out who those people are and putting them on the spot. Okay? I know police officers. I have some really good friends that are police officers. And the last thing they would do would just grab anybody at random, throw them to the ground, and arrest them. They have to have grounds to do it. They have to have a reason to arrest you. And they don't care what color you are. They don't care what gender you are. They're not bigots. They're not racist. They're not Nazis in disguise. They're grown men and functioning women who have paid their fucking dues, and they have families and loved ones and bills to pay too. Right? So there's that perspective you can put in your pipe and smoke. My suggestion is this, ladies and gentlemen. We have to do what we can to be sensible, be realistic. I don't want to see violence on the horizon. I don't want to see any streets or any towns in this country being compromised and given a brand new name because a handful of individuals want free stuff. Okay? There's no such thing as free stuff. And to the recent socialist aficionados out there have weighed into my profiles and my emails alike. Well, you can take your proletariat and stick it where the sun don't shine. You know? Your logic is just the same logic as Barbie the Builder selling solar panels to the high Arctic when the sun only shines 5 months out of the year. Think about that dilemma too. Right? If they do call an election, ladies and gentlemen, well, to my VCP brothers and sisters out there, we do what we can. To libertarians out there, do what you can. To the PPC aficionados out there, do what you can. Okay? We need change in Parliament. We do. We don't need any more NDP whiners talking about the so-called marginalized when there's no marginalization. We don't need the Bloc Québécois to worry about the French language. That is not being compromised. What is being compromised is our democracy and our common sense. Let's sort it out to the best of our abilities and get back to making this country great again. And I'm not trying to copy Donald Trump's MAGA issue. As far as I'm concerned, Canada has always been a good country. It's been good to me, it's been good to you, and it's worth fighting for. it's worth fighting for. And when I think of those guys I served with, and when I think of my grandparents, and when I think of the history of the amount of money and the amount of blood that's been given in the name of peace and security and freedom, I still believe this country is worth fighting for, ladies and gentlemen. Right? And when I run with the VCP, I'm not going to sit here and quote, I promise you this and I promise you that, shake my jowls around like I'm some kind of godsend. No, I'm going to do what I can to fight for the little guy, fight for the farmers, fight for the energy workers, fight for people that are getting sick and tired of seeing their paychecks and seeing another $10 or $20 taken off in the name of COVID or in the name of carbon or in the name of progress. That's what I'm standing for. Like I say, what say you? You can reach me at crustybcanuck67@gmail.com, on Wimkin, and on Twitter, and on Facebook, and on Instagram. By all means, please send me a message or two. And if you want to write me a letter, yeah, I'll leave a writing address there as well, too. And please check out my shop. I have some new clothing there. I have Raglan t-shirts, ball caps, hats, mugs, what have you. I even got a flask in honor of Remembrance Day that's coming up soon too. So keep that in mind, ladies and gentlemen. Like I say, if you use the code CNMDE, all capital, you will get 20% off your purchases, and that is valid until 31st of October. So get your orders in now and get yourself some good Crusty Canuck gear and swagger. Anyhow, ladies and gentlemen, I have been Crusty Canuck. Thank you again to Mr. Kevin Sorbo for that beautiful cameo there once again. And thank you, my listeners. And recently, thank you for the positive feedback I have received from all my comments and likes. And come the 29th, I believe. Yes, 29th will be my next live stream on YouTube. So check into that. There'll be the super stickers there too, so you can donate while we speak if you do desire. If not, ask me questions and get the Q&A and conversation going all the same. So on that note, ladies and gentlemen, I have been Crusty Canuck on this beautiful 20th of October, 2020. And like I always say, look after your friends and your loved ones. Let's keep our chin ups. The old Canadian British adage, the old can do. Yes, we can do this, we can do it together. Yes. And let's watch each other's backs, stand our ground, stand firmly, stand for this democracy. And remember, humanity and merit wins the day. Take care, and I'll see you next time. Bye for now.
Sweetheart, because I am hard, you will not like me. There is no racial bigotry here.